Yes.
Okay, so now we are moving to another section which deals with RNA. Now we have completed the DNA. Now RNA is very important. Uh, you can see that when it comes to the prokaryotic organisms, we generally look at the mRNA of such prokaryotic organism when it comes to the study of the gene and their functions. So isolation of total RNA is typically a preliminary step in many research settings, since each mRNA molecule carries the information from a gene. So uh, today we will see that how we can isolate the total RNA from biological samples, which we will see how can we organically extract this RNA, how can we affinity purify the RNA. And when I talk about total RNA, that means I'm talking about ribosomal RNA, mRNA, and tRNA. Uh, but there is a separate method of isolation of mRNA that we will discuss today, and how to isolate or how to directly isolate mRNA from the biological samples. Now, I'll briefly speak about why is it important to isolate RNA. Why it is important? Uh, because the reason behind this is the central dogma, where we now very well understand that the flow of information is always from the DNA to RNA, then RNA to protein. Now, this is the central dogma. There are exceptions to it, but the central dogma is regarded as the flow of information from the DNA to RNA, and this RNA is processed to give mRNA, which is translated to protein, which is the functional form of a gene. So, if we are talking about uh, expression of proteins, it is always good to use RNA as the starting material, because RNA can now be converted into cDNA, and this cDNA can be expressed to give the functional form of a protein. You all understand that RNA is processed in eukaryotes, but it is not processed in prokaryotes. In prokaryotes, you can directly use DNA for expression of a protein. But in case of eukaryotes, you cannot directly use DNA for expression of a protein. The reason behind this is that the eukaryotes, they have intervening sequences in the DNA, that these are called interons. The intervening sequences are called interons, and they have to be removed to give a functional form of RNA, which is generally carried out in eukaryotes. So in eukaryotes, if you express a DNA taking from the genomic DNA, it will not give rise to a functional protein. But if you take a mRNA, a processed mRNA, and then you convert it into a cDNA, then this DNA will give rise to a functional form of protein. So in case of eukaryotes, if you are interested to express a gene, it is always good to start with the isolation of mRNA, because mRNA is something which gets converted into protein. So isolation of mRNA is very important when we have to study the function of a gene. Now, let me tell you about total RNA purification. When we say total RNA, it includes all kind of RNAs, ribosomal RNA, tRNA, and mRNA. And majority of the RNA which is isolated is the ribosomal RNA. So the first step is the cell or tissue must be rapidly and efficiently disrupted. Then RNases have to be inactivated. Now, the major difference between DNA isolation protocol and an RNA isolation protocol is that there is the RNA being highly unstable because of the presence of uh, OH. In DNA, DNA is deoxyribose, deoxy, and RNA has a OH group, and it has a H ion which can be protonated. The hydroxyl group can be protonated. That makes RNA highly unstable. And secondly, because it is single-stranded, that also makes RNA highly unstable and prone to nuclease attack. Now, this RNA, which is highly unstable, is prone to nucleases. We have to take extra precautions because RNases are there in our hands also. They are there in the environment also. In everything you touch, RNases are there. So if you want to do a RNA isolation, you have to first treat all your glassware, all your plasticware, every vessel, every flask, everything has to be treated with DEPC. This is a reagent, diethyl pyrocarbonate, which inactivates the RNAs. Now, you have to dip all your plasticware, tips, flasks, Eppendorf, everything in DEPC water. DEPC is a reagent, diethyl pyrocarbonate, which inactivates all the RNases. And after dipping, all your glassware, all your plasticware should be baked in an oven at 180 degrees Celsius for at least for 1 hour. Only then you can protect your RNA. RNA is highly sensitive. It is not easy to isolate RNA. You have to take a lot of precautions and a lot of preparations go before we isolate RNA. So we have to make sure how to inactivate RNAs. Okay, so we have to denature all the nucleic acid protein complex. RNA selectively partition from DNA and protein. So today, and my coming slides, I will show you that how we isolate RNA from other cellular components. But before I highlighted the importance of the pre-treatment of DEPC water for everything you use for RNA isolation. So RNases are actually naturally occurring enzymes that degrade RNA, and it's a common lab contaminant from bacterial and human resources. They are also released from the cellular compartment. So the cell itself has RNA. When you will be disrupting the cell itself has RNA. So the major objective behind RNA isolation is to ensure that you can get rid of RNases, ribonucleic acid digesting enzymes. These are endonucleases which are present everywhere. So they are difficult to inactivate, but proper handling can do that. So what you should do to get rid of RNAs: wear gloves at all times. So this is not a mandatory requirement in DNA isolation. You can also do it without gloves, but in case of RNA isolation, you always have to wear gloves. Uh, you have to use RNase-free tubes and pipette tips, and use dedicated RNase-free chemicals. Pre-treat material with extended heat, 180 degrees Celsius for several hours. Wash with DPC water. So this all steps are, they take a lot of time, and this is important to kill the RNases. So you have to also supplement the reaction mixtures with RNase inhibitors. Uh, you can use a chemotropic agent, which is guanidine hydrochloride, which is very easily it inactivates RNases. So, but it's a very harsh salt. It has to be used very carefully. Now, having done all that, all those precautions for inactivating your RNases, now the procedure for RNA isolation is you have to lyse the cells. You have to, after that lysing, add phenol chloroform isoamyl alcohol. Then take out the aqueous phase from the organic phase. You can see here that there are two phases, aqueous phase and organic phase. After addition of the PCI, phenol chloroform isoamyl alcohol, remove this aqueous phase into a separate tube, precipitate RNA and wash with ethanol, then resuspend RNA in water. This water should be free from any RNases. Organic extraction is a versatile procedure, and it has a lot of advantages. It is scalable, though it is expensive. So we are using a lot of organic solvents here, which is actually all these solvents are highly corrosive, and in this process, the RNA may contain contaminating genomic DNA also, which can of course be removed by treating the solution with DNases. Another procedure, which is the more or less automated procedure, is affinity purification of total RNA. Now here we have to lyse the cell and spin the to remove large particle size. This is the first step. And then apply lysate containing nucleic acids and cellular contaminants to a column. In the video which I showed you before, we were using only such kind of columns which were having a resin here. So we have such kind of columns for here RNA. With alcohol, and we can also wash with 70% ethanol, and then we can come with a pure form of total RNA. So this was the second procedure which we generally follow for isolating total RNA, which was shown in the video before also. Now let's see that if we want to affinity purify the total RNA, this as shown here, this was the affinity purification, and prior to this I was talking about the organic extraction. So affinity purification, this is a quick process. It avoids need of organic solvents. It is compatible with a variety of sample types. It could be animal cells or plant cells or bacteria or yeast. And in this, we can give a DNA treatment which actually get rid us from the contamination of genomic DNA, and we get excellent RNA purity and integrity. So this is what I would regard it, that this is a quick, if we are using affinity process, that is quick, and it avoids using of the harsh organic solvent also. Now, once the total RNA, now we have to, most of the time, and most of the processes, we are only interested in the mRNA, because we have to, mRNA is something which is very important when we start for studying a gene or expression of a gene. If you want to study how much a gene is expressed, that means it should produce a high quantity of mRNA. And to check whether or not a cell is producing protein, we always isolate the mRNA and confirm it. So isolation of mRNA is very important. So because we can easily convert the mRNA into a cDNA, and the cDNA is something which is very basic to all the processes. So the cDNA represents all of the genes actively expressed in the sample being studied. cDNA can be amplified by PCR, or it can be cloned into cells to create a library of expressed genes. So mRNA is used to make, this is the first step for making a cDNA library. And a cDNA can be labeled with fluorescent or radioactive tags and then hybridized to thousands of array to find out a gene specific DNA. So the cDNA, which is made from mRNA, is very crucial for isolation of a gene specific DNA. Comparison of the hybridization patterns of labeled cDNA probes from different RNA sources. For example, drug treated versus a normal tissue can give you an idea whether or not your drug is acting or not. This I will explain slightly more. If you want to study whether a drug is acting on a cell or not, this can be studied only by whether or not the drug is able to induce expression of a particular gene. So for that, you have to isolate the mRNA. Only if the mRNA is expressed, that means the gene is expressed. So you should be able to isolate mRNA. So that's the reason that I've given a separate section for isolation of mRNA from the total RNA. In the previous slides, we saw how total RNA is isolated. Now I will tell you how mRNA can be isolated from this total RNA. Now the process is very simple. You all know that in eukaryotes, the transcription takes place inside the nucleus, and the processing of the mRNA, that means capping, tailing, and splicing. So this process all takes place in the nucleus, and once it moves, the processed mRNA moves out from the nuclear membrane into the cytoplasm, it gets associated with the ribosomes and it gets translated into a protein. So the mRNA is having a poly A tail. So this poly A tail can be used for affinity purification of mRNA. So this property is only present with mRNA, not with ribosomal RNA or tRNA. So this, we can use a oligo-DT column. Oligo means a stretch of nucleic acid which has thymine as the base. So oligo-DT probes can be used to purify mRNA from other RNAs. mRNA can be eluted from oligo-DT matrix using water or low salt buffer. Now look at this figure. This figure is taken from Old and Primrose. This is how here you see a oligo-DT matrix, and this we can see the multiple thymine residues which are immobilized over this bead. In this figure, only part of the bead is shown, and here you can see all different forms of RNA, mRNA, tRNA, and we have the mRNA also, ribosomal RNA also. We are only interested in the mRNA, and in this mRNA, you can see a tail, a poly A tail. Now this tail can easily affinity bind to the poly T oligo-DT matrix. Now once this gets bound to here, in the next step you see none of the other forms of RNA are able to bind to this matrix, and this matrix can be filled in a column or a syringe. The column is generally very small. This is a syringe kind of a thing in which these beads are filled, and we just add the total RNA from above the syringe, and we can see that only the mRNA binds to the oligo-DT matrix, and rest of the RNA it washes away. It can be washed away, and once after binding of the mRNA to the matrix, it can be eluted by a low salt buffer. So what we have now is the mRNA, which can be used to convert it into a DNA using a reverse transcriptase enzyme. So this enzyme is very crucial for all the experiments where a DNA is made from RNA. So reverse transcriptase is nothing but an enzyme which can use RNA as a template to synthesize a new strand of DNA. So that was the procedure for isolating mRNA from total RNA. So purifying total RNA first enables the larger sample size to be processed. This results in a higher mRNA yield. And purification takes longer than isolating mRNA directly. So if we are isolating mRNA from the total RNA, that is actually a lengthy process. There are ways of isolating mRNA directly from the biological samples also. So we will see how that can be done. So quicker than doing an initial total RNA isolation followed by mRNA, and but the limitation is that we get a smaller size of mRNA. If we don't, if we directly isolate mRNA from a biological sample, the amount of mRNA that we get is very small. Now once we have the RNA with us, we can estimate the quality by using spectrophotometry. So this I will take in a separate section, but before that I'll share with you a video which shows mRNA isolation. Now in this video, I hope you are able to see the video. We are using a Trizol reagent. Trizol is a proprietary reagent which is used for isolation of RNA. Now this reagent is actually a mixture of a few things. I would say that it has a chemotropic agent, it has RNAs, it has a dye also, which is ensuring the isolation of RNA after deactivation of the RNases in the in your reaction where various disrupted cells are present. So Trizol reagent is a very quick way of achieving cell disruption and inactivation of the RNases, which ensures that your RNA is safe. So we are adding 1 ml of Trizol to the sample, and which is homogenized. You can see that Trizol is looking red in color because it has a dye also. This is a proprietary item, but this is a very good method of isolating total RNA from a cellular cell lysate. Now after adding, then you add chloroform, 200 microliters to the homogenate. Now you can see that chloroform has been added. Now after this, a vigorous vortexing ensures proper mixing. Now incubate on ice for 15 minutes, and this should be followed by centrifugation for separating the organic and the aqueous phase. You see that this is a very quick way of getting it. Now here very clearly there were two phases which were separated out, and we are only interested in the aqueous phase, and without disturbing the interface we are taking out the aqueous phase into a fresh Eppendorf tube. Now all these reagents are DPC treated, they are free from RNases. It is very important, and you can see that gloves, wearing of gloves and taking proper precaution is the key to success of this process. Now the supernatant has been separated. Now you add isopropanol into the separated aqueous phase. This will precipitate the RNA, and then you have to incubate this on ice for 10 minutes. Remove the supernatant, and then the washing step, the same as we did before for the DNA isolation. Now the washing with 70% ethanol ensures the removal of the precipitated salts, and again we have to centrifuge because we have to pellet down our RNA again for 10 minutes. All the steps are to be carried out at 4 degrees Celsius. Now we have again done. Now take the supernatant, use RNA is the pellet. This has to be carefully done. Then air drying the tubes, again in a safe environment, which I suggest doing it in the laminar flow. Now you have your RNA pellet ready. Now this can be resuspended in RNase free water, that is the DPC treated water. So DPC, you have to treat the water, what you're using with DEPC, diethyl pyrocarbonate. And this reagent has the quality that if you add it into the water, it will be there at ambient temperature. But if once you autoclave, this DPC very easily breaks down into carbon dioxide and water, ethanol, which evaporates. So DPC is a very safe reagent. At the same time, it ensures the complete removal of your RNases. So your water should also be RNase free, and this can be achieved by DPC. And in the last step, which I'm trying to show here, is the resuspension of the pellet of RNA, which is done by adding appropriate volume, that means 50 to 100 microliters of DEPC treated water. So now your sample is ready for testing. So this is how you do RNA isolation. Now I'll again try to tell you that RNA isolation is not as simple as your DNA isolation or isolation of plasmid. This requires a lot of prior work, a lot of homework, in the sense that every glassware, every plasticware, it has to be treated with DPC water, and proper precautions has to be taken for ensuring the removal of RNases from your hands, from all the glassware, whatever you are using, because RNases is something which is present everywhere, and you will spoil your experiment if you not if you not take care of RNases. The region that I told was triazole. For your memory, again, this is a proprietary atom which is